Alright guys, what is up? We are here for, I think this is week 6 or 7, I don't even remember at this point, of the final build on the Z, and it is looking really good. If you guys remember last week, we got the engine bay completely primed, sanded down, and it is ready for paint, but the weather was against us, so I went ahead and covered everything up. But this week, it is a really nice day out. It's a little cold. It's currently 53, I think the thermometer said, and you really want to paint above 60. So I'm going to go ahead and see if we can build a little enclosure in this metal frame we have here, and just kind of heat up the area around the engine bay. I think it's going to get a little warmer as the day goes on. I think the high today is like 65, but I still would rather have just kind of plastic protecting this so we don't get any dust or debris in our paint. And it's not too windy right now. Hopefully it stays that way for at least a few hours, because too much wind is going to cause a lot of dust to get everywhere. But hopefully we can do that. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is pull off all these covers. I'm going to go ahead and give one more sanding just to any areas that I think need a little bit of smoothing out. And then I'm going to go ahead and start putting some plastic wrap around this frame. Hopefully we can get a really nice area around here to work in, and it helps shield it a little bit, and hopefully the weather holds up. So, fingers crossed guys, let's go ahead and get to work. Alright guys, so as you can see, it is looking really good. This is just with to cover off right now, and there's a few places, like right here, if you can see it's a little rough. I went ahead and put another coat on a few of these areas last week. So we're going to go ahead and just sand down any rough areas. Really any place on top here is really what I'm going to focus on. Anything that's going to be super visible, but you know, like down the frame rails, it doesn't really matter too much because you're not going to be able to see there tons. But I'm probably going to hit everything with just a nice coat. There's a little bit of dust in here from just sitting here over the week, so we're going to go ahead and sand it down and then wipe it all down and spray it off with some air, and hopefully everything is really good. So I want to talk about my game plan for around these harnesses real quick. I really wish I could get them completely removed. It would make my life a lot easier, but unfortunately I don't think that's going to happen. So my plan is to just kind of paint those semi-separately. I'm going to get as much as I can compacted into a very small area so I can paint everything here on the first try, and then just right behind here, right behind over there, I'm just going to go ahead and probably do that after everything else. These areas are actually in really good condition, so that's why I'm not too worried about them. They don't need to be, you know, filled or sanded or anything. They're in really nice shape. The paint there originally was really good, so I think that I'm just going to be able to scuff them up. Right now I want to do the sanding, and then we'll go ahead and paint everything, and then I'll move these harnesses, paint behind them secondary. So it's not the best way that I could have done this. I really would have loved to get these harnesses completely removed, but I think it'll work well enough because these areas are in really good shape anyways. They didn't really need too much work. So hopefully that turns out well. I'm going to go ahead and scuff this up, and then we'll go ahead and wipe things down. Check this out guys. It is a little paint booth. It's actually pretty cool. It's still pretty clear out, but the wind is picking up, so hopefully it doesn't cause too much of an issue. But look at this. I mean, there's like cracks in it. Obviously it's not airtight, but it is a nice little paint booth. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little more plastic right there, to the little door area, and then that side is not the best, and of course the underneath of the car is not covered, but I think this is pretty good, honestly. I think I'm gonna go ahead, wipe all this down with a tack cloth, and then just start painting. I really don't want the wind to pick up too much, so time is of the essence here. So fingers crossed I don't have to take this tent down anytime soon because it starts blowing away. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and jump to it, guys. Alright guys, well, we got the first round of paint done, and it went as I expected, which is not really that great. Just because this is my first time and I really didn't have too good of an idea of what all needed to be done. Also the paint booth is blowing around a lot, so hopefully this doesn't blow away. It moved like an inch a little bit earlier, but so the paint went fine. I went kind of did like a medium coat at first, and then a little bit heavier coat the second time, and that helped fairly decently. I don't know if you guys can tell. There's a lot of texture in the paint though. It's pretty much anything that was underneath it came up, and then places, I don't know if you guys can see on camera, right here there's a little bit of waviness in the metal itself, and so when I was sanding I didn't really get in those grooves really the best, so all those little high points, you can see them through the paint. This of course is just kind of hard to get to because of where it's at. The paint doesn't like being upside down. I sanded these a lot, so they actually look pretty good. I didn't even paint these buckets because they were just so pitted. I really didn't sand them that well because I was like, well, I don't really care about these. I don't care if they're a little rough. But just seeing the way the paint laid down on all these other places, maybe you guys can see that. I just wasn't really going to paint this and then just kind of have to deal with sanding it all off. So I think what's going to have to happen, I'm going to go ahead and let this first coat dry. I used 3 cans of paint, and it could probably use another 3 at the very minimum, and I only had 2 more. So, and then one of them looks opened. It was an AutoZone Duplicolor paint can. So I think I'm going to go ahead and order some more paint from just local stores, even though it's a little bit more expensive than the other stuff. And then I'm going to wet sand all the areas that look like they're getting me issues. I'm going to go, well, I'm probably going to do like 1,000 grit, and then, or if I have 1,200, I don't even know what grits that I have, but I'll probably do some higher grits on these areas just so that I can get them down, but not disturb them too much. And then we might end up going ahead and wet sanding all the rest of these areas, because even on the tops of these strut towers where I really sanded them well, I can see a couple grooves, just like from how I was sanding. You can see like the directional patterns. So I don't know if thicker layer of paint would really help that, or if that is just a wet sand kind of thing. So, you know, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more research. You know, I'm not a professional painter, guys, by any means. So if you guys have any suggestions, definitely drop them in the comments. I think the videos here are like 3 weeks ahead. So I'm about 3 weeks ahead from when you guys are seeing this. But if you drop some comments down below, you know, other people will be able to see and then be able to improve. So that is definitely a plus. So I think I got my game plan. Do some research. Probably going to sand down the trouble areas and then give everything a much thicker coat. Well, not like a wet coat, but like a couple layers to get it thicker. And then we're probably going to go ahead and end up wet sanding pretty much everything here. And that's probably going to take a lot of time, but it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. But that just means we might not be able to put clear coat on until next weekend. So, fingers crossed we'll be able to figure something out. It doesn't look too bad. You can see like down here. Well, maybe, I can't tell if you guys can see on the screen or not. But there's just a couple places where it really didn't want to seep in because there were a lot of ridges. So, fingers crossed we can get something through here, and we'll see what happens. Alright guys, well it is the next day. I went ahead and wanted to let the paint dry overnight just so sanding wouldn't be any issue. You can see there's a little bit of wind. It's pushing in the edge of the tent right there. But thankfully it did survive the night, so that's very nice. But the plan for today is we're just going to go ahead and sand down all of the areas that just are really rough still. And then we're going to go ahead and give the whole thing another coat of paint if possible. I think I'm going to have to order some more paint. I went to my AutoZone here right next to me and they didn't have any more of this, so I'm going to have to go ahead and order a few bottles. And then I think next week we'll just give it a nice thick layer of color, and then we'll go ahead and wet sand down pretty much everything to make it really shiny and smooth, and then clear coat, of course. So for today we're just going to go ahead and sand down all the problem areas, and then I have 1 can left, so I'll go ahead and give them another coat, and then next week we'll finish this up, and hopefully it'll be done next week. So let's get to sanding. Alright guys, so here is the engine bay. It's looking pretty good. I went ahead and sanded the front area here for a little bit. You can see I really scuffed up some areas over here. Just trying to get it out. I think the paint is still a little bit gummy. Just kind of sticks to the paper pretty easily. I'm not really a fan of how it's coming out so far. So I think I'm actually just going to leave it for a week. Hopefully it hardens up a little bit more. So I can sand it a little bit more effectively. It just doesn't, I just don't want to kind of like get weird streaks and everything in the paint. So I think this is probably going to be it for this weekend. I'm going to go ahead and order up some more paint, and then next week we'll go ahead and sand on all these spots, paint over everything again. That way we get a really nice thick color coat, and then we'll go ahead and wet sand it. I don't know if you guys can see, so we can come over here. This one's looking pretty good, but I don't know if you guys can see there's marks in it. Maybe if I shine my light on it. Yeah, can you guys see those marks in it? So I think we're going to go ahead and try wet sanding this next week. And hopefully that gives us a little bit better, just even color. And then we'll go ahead and put some clear on it. So definitely a win for this week in my opinion. I got pretty much everything here covered in at least some sort of paint, except for maybe that back corner right there. That needs a lot of sanding still, so I think it's looking pretty good. I'm really excited. As always, guys, as I said earlier, if you want to drop a comment down below and give painting tips, definitely do it. I am not a professional painter. This is, you know, the first time I've really tried to do something that looks nice. And obviously, you know, I'm having the results that I'm having because I should have really sanded this a lot better, especially in these grooved areas. I think you guys can see that now. And then if I'd wanted, I should have put body filler on spots like this or over here in the tray. But I really didn't care too much. I just wanted a nice clean coat. I didn't really care about the actual like metal underneath. But if you wanted to put some nice body filler on after you do the primers, when that would go. Anyways, guys, drop a comment down below if you have any tips for others. As always, this is like 3 weeks ahead of when you guys are seeing it, so I can't really say that it'll help me, but I appreciate it nonetheless. So hopefully you guys think that this is coming along really, really good. It's definitely a very white color, which is what I was going for. This is the original Nissan white, and I think once there's gloss on here, it is going to look so, so good. It's going to be just a really nice, clean engine bay. So, I'll see you guys next week, and I hope you have a great week.